Welcome to Short Movie Channel. Our movie today starts with John on a plane, looking visibly anxious and nervous. When Chris, the girl sitting next to him, notices that he's scared, she says, "What do you think about talking so you can forget your fear?" He replies, "Have you heard of the videotape that kills you 7 days after you watch it?" She's confused by what he's saying, and he explains that he met a girl in Seattle who sent him a video and asked him to watch it. As soon as he finishes watching it, his phone rings, and a girl on the line tells him, "You will die in 7 days." He tells her this happened 7 days ago, and that after 5 more minutes, the 7 days will be up and he will be safe. At that moment, the plane hits turbulence, and John's nose starts bleeding. He rushes to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Chris returns from the bathroom and asks about what John had said, so she rushes to the bathroom as well and asks, "Did you make a copy of the video?" He answers, "No." At that moment, the screens in the cockpit show an image of Samara emerging from the cursed well, with black water from the well flooding the bathroom. John panics and runs out, and when the cockpit door opens, a swarm of insects pours out, heading toward the passengers. Suddenly, Samara, with her long hair and pale, frightening skin, appears on the screen and moves toward John. 2 years later, we see Professor Gabriel in a market selling old items. He stands in front of an old video player when one of his students, Sky, sees it and tells him it's junk and not worth the money. He responds, "Not at all. The shopkeeper told me he bought it from a woman whose son died 2 years ago in a plane crash, and I think it's in great condition. It's worth every penny I paid for it." That same day, Gabriel is at home, trying to fix the old video player, when he discovers a tape inside. When he plays it, the 7-day curse is transferred to him. As soon as he finishes watching the video, he gets a call from a woman who tells him, "You have 7 days left." After a while, we see Julie explaining to her boyfriend Holt, who is studying at a boarding school in Spokane, that it's been a week since he left. One night, Julie talks to Holt on Skype, and he tells her he misses her and that school is incredibly boring. The only thing keeping him going is the experimental biology class, which is taught by Professor Gabriel. While they're talking, 2 of Holt's friends come into his room and ask him to finish the call so they can go out and party. He ends the call, and a week passes. During that week, Julie tries calling Holt many times, but he doesn't answer. One night, she dreams about Holt, and the dream is extremely disturbing. Afterward, she receives a call from Holt on Skype. Holt's friend answers, speaking in a disoriented way, telling her that Holt is in danger, and then quickly ends the call. Julie decides to go look for Holt, and the next day she arrives at the university and goes to Holt's dorm room. There, she finds Holt's phone under the bed and a strange-looking key hanging on the wall. She also finds Holt's notes, all of which are about Professor Gabriel's lectures. She realizes she has a crush on Gabriel. After the lecture, she sees Holt's friends, smiles at them, but they ignore her and leave. When Julie goes to ask Gabriel about Holt, he tells her that he has a lot of students and doesn't know all their names, and that he can't help her either. He then leaves, but she follows him. At that moment, she sees him getting into the elevator and heading to the 7th floor. She decides to leave him and presses the button for the 7th floor, but the elevator doesn't move. At that point, she uses the key she found in Holt's room, and the elevator starts moving, taking her to the 7th floor. There, she finds a special area for Professor Gabriel and a limited number of his students. She also sees strange pictures of disfigured students, including Holt. Then, she notices Sky talking to Gabriel angrily, telling him that he needs to help her get out of the mess he put her in. Gabriel asks if she's spoken to Holt, and Sky tells him that he's not answering his phone and that he's in the same situation as her. Gabriel replies, "Just calm down, go back home, and I'll send someone to watch the video." Later, Sky leaves the place, and Julie follows her and asks about Holt. Without thinking, Sky says, "Come with me, and I'll make you meet him." She leaves her car and goes with Sky to her house. There, Sky locks the door with the key, places her phone on the table, and goes to make a copy of the video. Meanwhile, Sky receives a message from Holt on her phone, and Julie answers it, telling him she's at Sky's house. Holt asks if she's watched the video, and Julie says no. He warns her, "Don't watch it, and get out of there immediately." At that moment, Sky realizes that Julie is holding her phone. She tries to take it away from her, and a struggle ensues. Sky says, "I want you to watch a 2-minute video, and then I'll let you go." Julie responds, "Stay away from me," and pushes her, then locks herself in the room. Gabriel knocks on the door and says, Holt himself watched the video. At that moment, Julie's time is up, and her nose starts bleeding. The cursed well of Samara appears on the laptop screen. Sky closes the laptop and throws it away, but the TV screen lights up, showing the cursed well. Sky tries to disconnect the TV, but the image stays on the screen. She pulls the entire TV down, and water pours out of it. Then, Samara's hand appears, and she crawls out of the screen with pale skin and long black hair covering her face. She approaches Sky, and as soon as Sky looks at her, she lets out a scream of terror and then falls silent. When Julie peeks from behind the door, she spots Samara, and terror strikes her. The door opens, and when Julie exits the room, she sees Sky dead, sitting on a chair, her skin pale, and a look of sheer horror etched on her face. At that moment, Holt arrives, takes Julie, and they leave the apartment. They head to a hotel, where Holt calls Gabriel to tell him what happened. After the call ends, he tells Julie that he watched the video 12 hours after Sky did, meaning he has less than a day left. Julie asks, "Why did you watch the video?" He answers, "I joined this experiment because Gabriel convinced me that they could prove there's life after death, and that the soul stays present after a person dies." Then he adds, "The idea is that everyone who watches the video should make a copy and let someone else watch it. That way, no one will be harmed, and they can prove their theory." Julie asks, "But why would you sentence an innocent person to death?" He replies, "If you follow the instructions, you won't die." On the same day, at night, Julie was watching the video to protect Holt. As soon as she finished it, she received a call on the landline, and a girl's voice said, "You have 7 days left." Suddenly, the phone receiver burned, and a strange mark appeared on her hand. Holt woke up to her voice and asked, "What did you do?" She replied, "I watched the video to protect you." Later, we see them heading toward Gabriel. While on the road, Julie imagined a bird hitting the car's windshield. She asked Holt to swerve and stop the car, telling him they had hit a bird. She got out of the car and started searching for it. When she found it in the middle of the road, she rushed to save it, but Holt pulled her back just before a truck could hit her. When she looked back at the bird, it had disappeared. The two arrived at Gabriel's place, where he noticed the mark on Julie's hand and took a photo of it. Julie tried to make a copy of the video she watched, but it wouldn't copy because the file was too large. Gabriel then discovered that the video contained another video hidden inside it. He had her watch it alone, and she saw scenes of a church, a flood, a girl, a burning child's corpse, and a snake eating its tail. When Julie described what she saw, Gabriel explained that ancient civilizations believed that a body had to be burned for the soul to rest. At that moment, Julie noticed a picture of the church from the video hanging on the wall. Gabriel told her that the church was located in a village called Sacramento, about 4 hours away, and that Samara's body was buried near that church. Meanwhile, Gabriel received a call informing him that the police had found their location and were coming to arrest him for Sky's murder, based on emails they found on her laptop. He ended the call and told them they needed to leave for Sacramento immediately. Gabriel handed Julie a notebook and said it contained everything he had learned about Samara. On their way to Sacramento, Julie realized that the videotape told the story of Samara's life. She learned that Samara was an only child, and no one knew who her parents were. She had grown up in an orphanage run by the church and was different from all the other children, harming anyone who came near her in a sinister way. Because of this, they decided to get rid of her by throwing her into a well. She survived in the well for 7 days before dying on the 8th day. Her body remained in the well until it was recently recovered and buried in Sacramento's cemetery. Before they arrived, Julie saw a pregnant girl standing by the side of the road. She asked Holt if he saw her, but he said he didn't see anyone. When they reached the hotel, Julie noticed a picture of the same girl on the wall. The hotel owner told her the girl's name was Evelyn. Julie told Holt that Evelyn was the girl she saw on the road. However, the hotel owner said that was impossible because Evelyn had disappeared 30 years ago, and no one knew where she went. The two then went to the church and found it old and abandoned. Julie saw pictures of the flood and the same locations from the video. When Holt asked someone about the church, they told him it had been destroyed in a flood 13 years ago. At that moment, Julie saw the same birds from the video flying over the cemetery, and told Holt that Samara was buried there. At the same time, Gabriel discovered that the mark on Julie's hand was a word inscribed in Braille, the writing system used by the blind. He tried calling Holt, but when he didn't answer, Gabriel left him a voicemail explaining what he had learned and letting him know he was on his way to meet them. At that moment, Julie and Holt arrive at the grave where Samara was buried. Julie enters the grave and finds her name written inside it. Suddenly, the grave closes on her, and Samara appears in front of her, pulling her towards the well. At that moment, Holt pulls Julie out of the grave. She tells him that she saw Samara inside, but when she looks again, there's no trace of Samara in the grave. At this point, the gravekeeper arrives with a guard dog and takes them to the blind man, Galen. He tells him they have violated the graves. Galen invites them into his house, and there, he mentions it's strange that they found Samara's grave, since her name isn't even written on it. Julie explains that she had a vision revealing Samara's grave, and inside the grave, she had another vision showing her the well where Samara died. Galen says that the priest knew Samara lived in the well for 7 days, so he decided to move her body to the church's cemetery. Afterward, the flood that destroyed the village happened, killing half the population. The priest then moved her body to the north of the village, to Potter's Fall, and left the village shortly after. Since then, no one has gone to the church. He tells her that he had the same experience when he opened Samara's grave and saw things he wasn't supposed to see, which caused him to go blind. He asks her to forget about it, as just because she had a vision doesn't mean she's meant to solve its mystery. Holt then tells her they need to leave. Galen looks at Julie's arm and notices a strange marking. He asks her who carved it into her arm, but she ignores him. He warns her to be careful. On their way to the hotel, they find the road blocked. At that moment, Julie sees Evelyn and starts following her. She tries to save her, but she can't, and just as a streetlight is about to fall on her, Holt saves her. Later that night, Holt goes out to buy dinner. Julie visits the church, where she discovers a secret door leading to a room beneath the church. When she enters, she finds that the priest had kept Evelyn locked there for 8.5 months. She also learns that the priest had an illicit relationship with her, which resulted in Evelyn having a daughter, Samara. Meanwhile, Holt meets the hotel owner at the restaurant and learns that Evelyn had a deep hatred for the church. After Evelyn's disappearance, the flood occurred, and the priest became blind. Holt rushes to Galen's house. Julie, having already arrived at Galen's house, tells him she needs more information about the priest. She explains everything she's discovered and asks him to tell her where the priest buried Samara. Galen attacks her and says he intended to go blind to avoid seeing Samara's ghost. He also tells her that she is number 12 of those who tried to find out Samara's story. He reveals that he's dealt with everyone who tried to uncover the truth about her, and now it's her turn. He warns that if she finds what she's looking for, the whole world will turn to hell. Julie tries to defend herself, but as she struggles to escape, she realizes the window is locked. Galen turns off all the lights and tells her that Samara can't hurt him because he's blind, and Samara can only harm those who see her. He locks her in the house, and she tries to escape, running to the 2nd floor. He follows her and pushes her, causing her to fall down the stairs. At that moment, Julie sees a door opening in front of her and rushes inside. She breaks through a wall behind a mirror and finds Samara's body. Holt arrives at the house and starts searching for Julie. Galen attacks him, hitting him on the head and knocking him unconscious. We return to Julie, who has discovered Samara's body. Galen attacks her and tries to strangle her. Julie's phone falls to the floor, and a video of the cursed well starts playing. Samara appears from the well, terrifyingly. Galen's sight returns for a brief moment, and when he sees his daughter, his skin turns gray, and terror fills his face as he dies. Later that night, Holt burns Samara's body. The next morning, Julie is in the bathroom, and Holt listens to a message Gabriel sent him. He compares the marking on Julie's arm to Braille and realizes that the message says, "I will keep torturing you, and you won't be able to escape from me." Suddenly, the video is duplicated many times and sold to several people. Meanwhile, Julie spits out Samara's hair, and Samara appears in the bathroom mirror. And so, the story ends. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked the video.